Hello everyone, my name is Adam and I am part of the Coders Tube team. In this video, we will be diving into the exciting world of API development using Node.js and Express. We'll be covering everything you need to know to get started building your RESTful API, from setting up your development environment to creating endpoints and handling requests. By the end of this video, you'll have the skills and knowledge to build your API, and you'll be well on your way to becoming a pro API developer. So, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more similar videos and hit the bell icon to stay notified of our upcoming videos. Let's get started. Static files and data. First, you'll need to recognize the difference between serving static assets and serving data. Serving static files is serving your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript pages as they are. The reason they're called static files is that they are not changed by the server nor run. They're merely sent back as files for your browser to parse through. This is what you've most probably been doing without even realizing it. Express is a cool Node framework that's designed to help JavaScript developers create servers quickly. Node.js may be server-side, but it can do a whole lot more than just serve pages and data. Node.js is a powerful platform that lets you run JavaScript on your shell similar to how you'd run Python. To get started, head over to nodejs.org and download the most stable release of Node.js. It's noteworthy to remember not to download the latest version since it may contain bugs and features that could be removed from the final version. Once you download Node.js binaries, install them into your machine using the instructions provided on the page relative to your platform. To confirm installation, close any OpenCMD instance that may be running and start a new instance. Type the following two commands to display the version of Node installed and npm. npm is the Node package manager and is a tool for installing, uninstalling, and maintaining package modules for your app. npm v. Node v. Initialize a new app. There are 3 ways to initialize a new Express app. I'll go over them briefly explaining each. The first way is creating the files by hand. A basic Node app contains a JS file and a package.json file. The package.json file contains a couple of properties. The first one is a name that holds the name of the app. The second is the version that shows the version of your app, a description of your app, main that points to the entry point of your application. There are also scripts that can be run when you need to perform some repetitive tasks, author name, license, dependencies, and dev dependencies. The package.json describes the app. It is very important. When uploading your app, your dependencies will be listed, avoiding duplication and excessive data transfer. An Angular 6 app Node modules is around 230 megabytes, which will take a lot of time to download or upload. So we omit these modules and just list them instead, then use the package.json to install the modules whenever we need to run the app on another machine. To understand this concept, I'll explain it better when making an introduction to Git tutorial. The second way you can initialize an app is by using the npm tool. It's the simplest but not the fastest way. All you have to do is open up your CMD in the folder you want to create your app in and type npm in it to interactively create your package.json file. The third way is the simplest, but a little complex for beginners as it creates files that you will be unfamiliar with, especially if you've never done Node.js. It also required you to install the Express tool to generate a complete Express template and not just the package.json. npm install gexpress generator. This installs the Express generator tool that generates a complete Express app. As I told you before, npm is a useful tool for installing modules that you might need. But wait a minute, what does the G flag do? When installing modules to use in JS, you might want to use the modules in that specific app, like installing Mongoose, so you can use Mongoose methods to query data from your MongoDB instance. But then, you can also install modules/tools that you can use anywhere on your computer. These tools are available on the command line but only available if you install them globally. The G flag specifies that you're installing the module globally to use anywhere within your computer. Not using the G flag will install the tool/module into that specific folder and will not be available outside that scope. Installing Express. Please use the second method to generate a package.json file almost similar to the one pictured. The second thing we want to do is install Express into our app. Note, we aren't going to install Express globally as we need to use it in this specific folder/app. Use the command below to install Express. npm install express save. The save flag is used to edit your package.json file and add Express as a dependency. After the installation is complete, open up your package.json to see Express listed as a dependency. With this, you could send just your code and package.json file to a friend and request them to use npm to install the dependencies on their computer, saving you some amount of data. To install, your friend will have to open up cmd inside the app folder and use the command npm install. Creating the app. Then create the app.js file or whatever you prefer naming it. Default is index.js, and add in the following code. Congrats, you just made your first useless Express server. So let's go through the code and learn why our server is useless and why it's not implementing the REST protocol yet. The first line requires Express and uses the Express variable to represent it. The second line initialized Express using the brackets, which initializes an Express server and puts the initialized server into the variable app. So now whenever we want to use our Express server, we would need to use the app variable which represents our app. We then set our app to listen to port 3000 and create a callback function that says our server is running on port 3000. So let's go through the code and learn why our server is useless and why it's not implementing the REST protocol yet. The first line requires Express and uses the Express variable to represent it. The second line initialized Express using the brackets, which initializes an Express server and puts the initialized server into the variable app. So now whenever we want to use our Express server, we would need to use the app variable which represents our app. We then set our app to listen to port 3000 and create a callback function that says our server is running on port 3000. Your app will now be accessible using localhost :3000, but hitting that endpoint now won't get you anything since you haven't configured your server to listen to any events. Setting request handlers. A server receives requests, processes them, and returns a response, so you need to use routes to handle these requests. The requests have three major types: a GET request that gets data, a POST request that sends data securely, a PUT request that updates data, and a DELETE request that deletes data. Let's create a simple GET request that returns a list of users. Under var app equals express, write down the following code. This simple function makes the Express app use the URL handle, URL, to trigger the callback that follows it. The callback accepts three parameters. Rec is the request body and carries information about the request. The res is the response body and is used to handle response functions like render to render templates and JSON to return JSON data. Running your app. To run your app, use the command nodeapp.js. This is what your CMD should look like after running this command. This means our app is now successfully running on port 3000. To view our data, open up your browser and enter localhost :3000/URL. You'll expect to see something like this on your browser. The data returned is an array of strings. This is raw data. How it all fits as a REST-based API. You might be wondering where the REST attribute comes in. REST stands for Representational State Transfer. This means there is no state between the client and the server. There are no web pages served to be parsed, just data, and this gives you all the freedom you need. All you need to do is write some logic on a specific URL that connects to a database, uses its logic to process the data, and returns it in JSON format. Your client can now be an Android app made in Java or a Windows desktop app made in C or an Arduino project. This is the whole point of using REST. It makes the connection stateless, therefore any client that utilizes the HTTP protocol can access this data. Now you can iterate through the data and display it anywhere you want. And that's it for this video on building a RESTful API with Node.js and Express. I hope you found it helpful and informative. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave them in the comments below. Remember, the best way to learn is by doing. So take the knowledge you've gained here and go out and build your API. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to stay up to date with our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.